They believed they were ready. For years, humans had trained hard. They had fought in many wars and believed no enemy could surprise them. Captain Ryan stood on the bridge of the warship Resolute, looking at the stars. His crew worked quietly, checking their weapons and systems. Everyone felt strong and confident. This mission would be easy. The Earth government had received strange signals from a distant part of space. No one knew what they were. Some scientists said they could be signs of aliens. But the military thought it was just space noise, nothing to worry about. Still, the Resolute was sent to investigate. As the ship moved through space, the crew shared stories of past battles. They laughed about how they had beaten stronger enemies before. "We have the best soldiers," said Lieutenant Mara. "Nothing in space can beat us." Captain Ryan smiled. He believed the same. War was familiar to them. They had tactics, weapons, and strength. They thought they knew war. But deep in the shadows of space, something was waiting, something different. Strange signals grew stronger. The crew felt it but did not understand. Then suddenly their sensors detected a large ship. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The alien ship was huge, with sharp angles and glowing lights. It moved silently, but fast. The Resolute's crew stared in shock. They had never seen this technology. It was advanced, scary. Captain Ryan ordered the crew to prepare for contact. "Stay calm. We don't know if they are friendly or not," he said. But in his heart he was unsure. The alien ship sent a message in a strange code. The crew worked fast to decode it. The message was a warning. "Leave this space or face destruction." The humans laughed. "They must be bluffing," said Mara. "They don't know who they are talking to." Captain Ryan ordered a message back. "We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves." The aliens did not answer. Instead, the huge ship started to move closer, and smaller ships appeared around. It like sharks. The crew of the Resolute realized this was no peaceful meeting. They were about to face a war unlike any before. The stars outside the windows of the warship seemed calm, but inside, the air was heavy with tension. The crew had expected a simple mission, but everything had changed in a moment. The strange, alien ships were no longer just distant shapes on the sensors. They were close now. The crew could see them clearly, moving in a way that was strange and confusing. Captain Ryan stood firm on the bridge, watching the screens. His hands gripped the edge of the console as he tried to keep calm. "Prepare for first contact," he ordered, his voice steady but low. "We don't know what they want, but we must be ready for anything." Lieutenant Mara nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. She had trained for moments like this, but this felt different. The alien ships moved with speed and precision, as if they knew exactly what the humans would do next. The Resolute's sensors picked up signals, but the patterns were unlike anything human technology had ever seen. "Captain," a crew member called out. "They're opening a channel." A strange sound filled the bridge, a series of clicks and tones that made no sense. The translator started working, trying to decode the message, but the words were hard to understand. Then, suddenly, a clear message came through. "We come to claim," the voice said, low and cold. "You are trespassing." The humans were shocked, no greetings, no questions, just a claim of ownership. Ryan stared at the screen. "We have no intention to fight," he said quietly, "but we will not leave without answers." The alien ships shifted positions. The smaller ones moved around the Resolute, surrounding it in a way that made escape difficult. The humans realized the aliens were not only strong, they were smart. Suddenly, lights flashed on the alien ships. Bright beams of energy aimed toward the Resolute. The crew braced for impact. The first beam hit the ship's shields. The sound was like thunder inside the hull. Alarms began to ring. The shield held, but the pressure was intense. "Return fire," Captain Ryan ordered. The Resolute's weapons activated, sending pulses of light toward the aliens. But the beams seemed to have little effect. The aliens moved faster and more skillfully than any enemy they had faced before. The battle had begun, but it was unlike any fight the humans knew. The aliens did not just attack. They used strange maneuvers that confused the crew. They adapted quickly to every move the humans made. In the control room, tension grew. The soldiers gripped their seats as the ship shook from the impact of the alien beams. Rian looked at his crew and saw fear in their eyes, but he also saw determination. "We can learn from them," he said. "We must watch and understand. This is not just a fight, it's a test." Hours passed with no clear winner. The Resolute fired again and again, but the alien ships avoided damage with ease. The humans tried to find a weakness but could not. The aliens seemed to know human tactics before they used them. "Captain," Mara said quietly, "they are studying us. Then we study them back." Ryan replied, "Keep fighting, but watch closely." The crew worked harder than ever. Scientists on board analyzed the energy beams and alien movements. Soldiers trained their aim and practiced new strategies. Everyone knew that this battle was more than survival. It was a lesson. The alien ships began to pull back, disappearing, slowly into the darkness of space. The Resolute was damaged but still flying. The humans had survived their first encounter, but the cost was clear. Captain Ryan looked at the stars, thinking about what they had just faced. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. "We believed we knew war. Now we see how much we still have to learn." The crew remained silent, the weight of those words sinking deep. Outside, the unknown stretched endlessly, waiting for what came next. The ship hummed quietly as it drifted through the dark expanse of space. Inside, the crew moved with a mixture of tiredness and focus. They had survived the first battle with the strange alien force, but no one was sure what would come next. The air was thick with questions that had no easy answers. Captain Ryan sat, alone in his quarters, staring at a small model of their ship. He thought about everything they had seen, the advanced technology, the alien ships that seemed to predict their every move, the strange message that demanded the humans leave this part of space. He knew that understanding their enemy was the key to surviving what lay ahead. Elsewhere on the Resolute, Lieutenant Mara and the science team worked late into the night. They had managed to capture a small alien scout ship during the first battle, a rare victory amid the confusion. The captured ship was unlike anything they had ever seen, covered in smooth, shining surfaces and glowing softly with blue light. Inside, the lab, the scientist carefully studied the ship's controls and energy sources. Every detail was a mystery, but slowly, patterns began to emerge. The alien technology was based on energy fields that could shift and change quickly, making their ships almost invisible to human sensors at times. The energy weapons they used could change shape and power, making them difficult to defend against. Mara looked over the readings, her brow furrowed. "They don't just fight with force," she said quietly. "They fight with knowledge and speed. We need to think like them or we'll never win." Ryan joined her and nodded. "We must learn more than their technology," he said. "We need to understand their culture, their reasons for war. There may be something we can use to find peace or at least an advantage." The next few days passed in a blur of research and training. The crew adjusted their tactics, testing new formations and weapon settings based on what they had learned from the captured ship. Soldiers practiced moving in ways that surprised even their commanders, using speed and unpredictability to confuse any attacker. Despite the hope brought by these new plans, a quiet fear remained. The aliens had shown themselves to be strong and intelligent. The humans were far from certain they could match them. Then one evening, the ship's sensors picked up an incoming signal. It was not a threat, but a message, a strange code that took time to decode. The aliens had sent an offer of communication. Captain Rian gathered his senior officers in the conference room. "This could be our chance," he said. "We must be careful, but we cannot ignore it." The communication began slowly. The aliens sent images and symbols, showing their history and culture. The humans learned that these beings were not enemies. For no reason, they had been protecting their home for centuries. They believed the humans were invaders. Mara listened carefully to the recordings. "They want to protect what is theirs," she said. "But maybe they also want to understand us," Ryan agreed. "This may be the first step to ending the fighting." But not everyone on the Resolute trusted the aliens. Some crew members believed the message was a trick, a way to lower human defenses before a new attack. As the communication continued, both sides learned more about each other. The humans found respect for the alien culture growing, even as the threat remained. One night, alarms rang suddenly. The captured scout ship had gone silent, and sensors showed an unknown object approaching fast. The crew rushed to their stations, hearts pounding. Was this a new attack? Or something else? The answer would change everything they thought they knew about their enemy, and about war itself. The hum of the ship's engines filled the silence on the Resolute as the crew prepared for a mission unlike any before. Captain Ryan stood at the bridge, staring at the starfield that stretched endlessly ahead. The tension in the room was thick. Everyone knew the coming hours could change the fate of humanity. Days of communication with the aliens had brought some understanding, but no peace. The messages revealed that the alien force guarding this region of space was fierce, protective, and unwilling to give ground. Captain Ryan and his officers had discussed every option, but the answer was clear. If they were to survive, they would need to strike where it hurt the most. The plan was risky. The humans had discovered that the alien command ship, the heart of their fleet, moved through the dark space near a nearby asteroid field. If the Resolute could get close enough, they might disable the alien command ship and force a pause in the conflict. But the mission was dangerous. The asteroid field was filled with unstable rocks and narrow passages. Any mistake could mean disaster. Lieutenant Mara stood next to Captain Ryan, reviewing the final details. "We will have only one chance," she said quietly. "If we fail, we may never get a second." The crew gathered in the briefing room where the plan was laid out clearly. Every soldier, pilot, and technician knew their role. The air buzzed with nervous energy. As the Resolute approached the asteroid field, the crew held their breath. Outside, massive rocks floated in silence, casting long shadows across the ship's hull. The alien ships were nearby, guarding their command vessel carefully. The humans moved slowly and carefully, weaving through the rocks. Sensors scanned constantly for danger, but the risk was high. One wrong move could mean collision or discovery. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a warning signal. Alien patrol ships were closing in. The crew tensed. The stealth of their approach was at risk. Captain Ryan ordered the ship into silent mode, reducing noise and lights. The Resolute slipped through the shadows, the tension rising with every passing second. Close to the command ship now, the crew prepared their attack teams. The plan was to disable the ship's power core, crippling its ability to command the fleet. The attack teams boarded smaller ships ready to move quickly. Mara led one group while Ryan prepared to coordinate from the Resolute. As the smaller ships moved toward the command vessel, the alien defenses awoke. Lights flashed and beams of energy lit up the space between ships. The humans dodged and moved with precision, but the alien technology was advanced and dangerous. Inside the command ship, the alien officers watched calmly. They seemed prepared for this move, but the humans pushed forward. Mara's team reached the power core. It pulsed with bright blue energy surrounded by strange, shifting shields. The humans worked quickly, using tools they had developed from the captured scout ship. Suddenly, the shields flickered. The power core began to dim. Back on the Resolute, Captain Ryan held his breath. The command ship started to lose power, its movement slowing, but the aliens were not defeated yet. More ships moved in, surrounding the humans. The asteroid field became a maze of light and shadow as both sides fought for control. Mara's team finished their task and signaled for extraction. The Resolute opened its hangar doors, ready to bring them home. The mission was a success, but the cost was high. The humans had struck a blow, but the war was far from over. Captain Ryan looked at the stars again, knowing the coming days would test them even more. They had learned to fight like the aliens, but now they needed to think beyond war if they wanted to survive. The future was uncertain, but hope still burned strong inside the Resolute. The Resolute drifted through the quiet reaches of space, its hull scarred from recent battles but still holding strong. Inside, the crew was tired but alert. They had made a daring move against the alien command ship, but that victory felt fragile. Captain Ryan knew they were far from safe. The alien fleet was reeling, but not broken. Messages intercepted from their communications showed a new determination, a deeper resolve to protect their territory at all costs. The war was escalating, and the humans could feel it in every pulse of their ship. Captain Ryan gathered his senior officers in the dim light of the command room. The weight of their mission pressed on all of them. "We've made an impact," he said, voice calm but firm. "But this is no time to rest. The aliens will adapt and come back stronger. We must be ready." Lieutenant Mara, who had led the assault on the command ship's power core, looked at him thoughtfully. "We learned a lot from that mission," she said. "Their technology is unlike anything we've faced, but it's not unbeatable. If we can understand their ways, maybe we can find a way to stop this without endless fighting." The room was quiet. The hope in Mara's words was a small light in the darkness of war. Scientists aboard the Resolute worked around the clock, studying alien technology and the intercepted messages. They discovered that the aliens used a form of energy that linked their ships together, creating a shared intelligence. This connection allowed the fleet to move with incredible coordination, almost like a single living being. Captain Ryan realized that to defeat an enemy so connected, the humans needed to become more connected themselves. He ordered the crew to enhance their communication systems to think as one. Meanwhile, the aliens prepared their next move. They sent envoys with a message, a challenge to meet and talk, but only if the humans would come alone. The offer was strange, but it could be a chance for peace. Captain Ryan debated. The risk was high, but so was the chance to end the fighting. He chose to accept the invitation, deciding to meet the aliens personally, without weapons or guards. The Resolute slowed as it approached the meeting place, a neutral space station floating in a silent part of the galaxy. The station was old but strong, built long ago as a place for different species to come together. Ryan entered the meeting room, where the alien leaders waited. They looked unlike humans, tall and slender, with eyes that seemed to see deep into his soul. The air was thick with tension, but also with a strange hope. The leaders spoke in careful words, explaining their history and fears. They had protected their home for centuries, afraid of invaders. The humans listened and shared their own story of exploration, survival, and the desire for peace. The meeting stretched for hours. Slowly, walls of fear and misunderstanding began to crumble. Both sides realized they shared more than just conflict. They shared hopes and dreams. Back on the Resolute, the crew waited nervously, watching the sensors and listening for any sign of danger. The peace talks were fragile, but they were a start. Captain Ryan knew this moment could change everything. War was not the only path. Understanding might be the true way forward. As the meeting ended, both sides agreed to a ceasefire, a chance to build trust. The stars outside the window no longer seemed so cold. They shone with a new promise, one of hope, courage, and the possibility of peace. The silence after the ceasefire felt almost unreal. For the crew of the Resolute, every moment was filled with cautious hope, mixed with uncertainty. The stars beyond the viewport seemed calmer now, but Captain Ryan knew better than to let his guard down. Peace was fragile, and the true test was only beginning. The Resolute moved steadily toward the neutral zone, a space set aside for talks and rebuilding trust. The alien leaders had agreed to send representatives for a joint meeting, but many questions remained unanswered. Could two very different civilizations find common ground after so much conflict? Captain Ryan paced the bridge, thinking deeply. He felt the weight of responsibility, not just for his crew, but for all humanity. They had come so far from simple explorers to warriors defending their place in the galaxy, but now they needed something more: understanding. Lieutenant Mara stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. "This ceasefire is a start," she said softly, "but trust doesn't come overnight. We need to show them who we really are." The crew prepared for the arrival of the alien delegates. The Resolute's corridors buzzed with activity, cleaning, fixing, and making ready for the historic meeting. Scientists and diplomats worked together, translating languages and sharing knowledge. It was a different kind of mission, one not of weapons or tactics, but of peace. When the alien delegates finally arrived, the atmosphere was tense but respectful. The aliens stepped aboard the Resolute, their graceful movements calm and deliberate. They were curious about the humans and their ship, asking questions about life, culture, and history. Captain Ryan welcomed them personally, sensing that this meeting could define the future. The discussion was long and deep. Both sides spoke, openly about fears, hopes, and the need to protect what mattered most. The aliens explained their connection to the stars, the way their ancestors had lived in harmony with nature and technology. Humans shared stories of their own struggles and dreams. Slowly, barriers began to fall. The conversations moved beyond old fears to new possibilities. Ideas formed for joint exploration, scientific exchange, and mutual defense, not as enemies, but as partners. But peace was not without challenges. Some in both civilizations were afraid of change and resisted the idea of cooperation. Captain Ryan knew that building trust would require patience and continued effort. One night, as the Resolute floated in quiet space, Mara found Rian staring out the window. "What comes next?" she asked. He smiled softly. "Now, we begin the real work. Not just fighting wars, but building a future." The crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just soldiers or explorers. They were ambassadors of a new era. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the hope growing within the Resolute. The journey was far from over, but the path ahead was clearer. Humanity had faced the unknown and survived. Now they would face it together, with courage, wisdom, and an open heart. The universe was vast, full of mystery and wonder, and for the first time it felt like home.